Hi, my name is Alan from Admen.lim Property. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Singaporean buying Malaysia property. What you should know first before parting away your hard-earned money. I believe with the upcoming RTS linking Singapore and Johor Baru, there are a lot of interest on properties around the Bukit Chagar Station. Property developers are excited. Analysts are also bullish that new record price can be achieved. Singaporeans are also excited because they can finally own a condo at 1/3 the price compared to Singapore. For Singapore buyers, please watch until the end. What I'm going to share can be a deal breaker for you. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the discussion. First up, let me discuss what kind of properties can foreigners own in Malaysia. They can own all except properties that are valued at less than 1 million in most major states, properties built on Malay reserve land, low and medium cost residential units, and properties that are assigned as Bumiputra lots. Foreigners are also not allowed to purchase agricultural land. This means you can only buy condominiums and landed properties. However, different states have different minimum purchase values. Most of them are capped at 1 million ringgit. If you are classified as a foreigner, which most Singaporeans fall under this category, with the exception that you are buying under the MM2H or Malaysia My Second Home program. For this video, I will not elaborate on this scheme. For those who are keen, you can refer to iProperty and Property Guru Malaysia articles, which I take reference for most of my information. For this discussion, I will use the state of Johor for most of my reference, since I assume most Singaporeans will favor JB because of the RTS. Most Singaporeans are eligible to buy a 2 million ringgit landed home with a land title in a designated international zone, or a minimum purchase value of 1 million ringgit for any high-rise strata title property within non-international zone, except for Admen.lim. However, based on this article, it mentioned that the Johor government in its 2020 budget attempt to curb the glut in the property market. The minimum purchase price of real estate that foreigners can buy was lowered from 1 million ringgit to 600,000. Here, I cannot verify this policy change. Please check this with local Malaysia agent on this. However, what I understand on the ground is that certain property developers can sell new homes to foreigners below the 1 million ringgit mark or 600,000 threshold. If you are a Singaporean, are you ready to chiong and enter the Johor property market with a conversion rate of 3.5 or below 300,000? Before you even consider spending your hard-earned money, hold on, don't kanchong first. Please continue to watch on. I'm very sure this video can benefit you tremendously. As mentioned in my earlier video, information on past transactions is pretty difficult to find unless you are a registered agent or valuer in Malaysia. You can only depend on a handful of property portals to feed you with such information. I managed to find a reliable website known as the National Property Information Centre. This is a government website that compiles all property transactions in Malaysia. I will only focus on data in Johor and Johor Baru. In the first chart, we have the Malaysia Annual House Price Index and annual changes from 2010 to 2022 for the state of Johor. The blue chart indicates the price movement over time. It has been increasingly gradually over the years. As for the orange line, it represents the year-to-year difference in percentage terms. Anyway, let's go to the next chart. From the left of the chart, we can see that the volume by types of housing for the first half of 2023. At a glance, we can see condominiums and apartments have 1183 transactions. This is followed by single-story terrace at 1367, and by far the most popular is 2 to 3 story terrace house with 4879 transactions. On the right, we have the transaction volume by price range. The most popular transaction volume are between 100,000 ringgit to 700,000 ringgit. Interestingly, those above 1 million ringgit only got 620 transactions, but they add up to 966 million ringgit. This is almost on par with the 400,000 to 500,000 ringgit price range. Wow. This means this segment is an important contributor to property developers and the tax department. If I divide 966 million by 620 transactions, this means each transaction is worth 1.56 million each. Wow, all these must be luxury property in Johor Baru, just like Singapore Sentosa Cove, where the rich and famous stay. Coming back to the incoming supply in the market, this chart shows that as of third quarter 2023, there are 38,000 homes coming into the market, and the main bulk obviously will land in Johor Baru, which is the city center. In terms of the main residential stock that are leading the way are 2 to 3 story inter-terrace, followed by single story terrace house and condominiums. In the next chart, we have new launch for the entire 2023. Johor has by far the greatest number of new launches as compared to big cities like Selangor, where KL is located. There are 13,000 homes. Again, 2 to 3 story inter-terrace make up the bulk, followed by clusters, which I believe are cluster landed housing. This is followed by condominiums in 4th place with 1,500 homes. In terms of location, most are located in Johor Baru itself. The most popular selling price priced by developer are between 500,000 ringgit to 800,000 ringgit, which cover the top 3 spots. This is followed by above 1 million ringgit, where we have 1,800 homes for sale. However, we can see that inter-terrace are still sought after by most Malaysians in the 400,000 to 700,000 price range. However, those transactions above 1 million ringgit are the minority. If I divide 620 over 10,000 transactions in the first half of 2023, this only translates to less than 6% of all overall transactions. This is very interesting. What does this mean for you, especially so if you are a foreigner? This is the juicy part. Do you know if you are a non-tax resident or ACA foreigners, you are subjected to a flat rate tax of 30% on their Malaysia source income, including rental income from properties in Malaysia. Based on this article, the chargeable income is calculated by deducting the allowable expenses from the gross rental income. Then, the 30% tax rate is applied to the chargeable income to determine the tax liability. Take note, non-tax residents are not eligible for tax reliefs, exemptions, or rebates available to tax residents. This is similar to Singapore. On the same note, there is a capital gain tax in Malaysia if you sell your property before a certain time frame. This is like our seller stamp duty. They call it real property gain tax or RPGT. All individuals need to pay for it, be it citizen, PR or foreigners. However, for foreigners, the RPGT rate is 30% if you sell it in the first 5 years. Thereafter, after the 6 years and beyond, the tax rate will be capped at 10% of your selling price. However, RPGT is not applicable if the disposable price of a property is equal to or lower than the acquisition price. It is only chargeable if there is a profit gain from the disposal of the property. If you can make money from Malaysia property, I can only say very good liao. As previously mentioned, properties that are more than 1 million ringgit make up only less than 6% of the total number of transactions. This means the pool of buyers buying such luxury home from you in the resale market will be extremely limited. This is the same as Singapore luxury properties. If you still don't understand, you can watch my earlier video. Luxury condominium can buy or buy. Here, do you know what is the best part? What if your property price drop below the 1 million ringgit break-even point? Don't say it wouldn't happen. Let me share with you one real example. I'm very sure many Singaporeans will know. It's a 1,000 unit condo on freehold tenure. It was completed in 2014 and is about 10 years old now. Let's take a look at the past transactions. Assuming you bought the unit on launch back in 2014, the average PSF was close to 986 per square feet ringgit. Assuming a typical 3-bedroom measure 1,000 square feet, this means your unit will likely be priced at 1 million ringgit. However, when prices start to decline, as shown in this chart, today average PSF is about 628 PSF or 628,000 ringgit. This means prices has declined 36% in the last 10 years. This is the catch. Since Malaysia has a rule that states clearly that foreigners can only buy property worth more than $1 million in the sub-sale market, This means you can only sell to local Malaysians. Will local buy from you? Well, I believe most don't have such financial means. Even if they have, they will rather buy a brand new landed home from property developers. This means finding a buyer will be very tough. Brothers and sisters, in Cantonese we say, 呢個唔係叫生火，呢個係叫死火. To sum up, if you are a Singaporean planning to buy a property in Malaysia, buy with a long-term horizon. Buy a home to stay in and not so much about capital appreciation. Always think about your exit strategy, if there is any. By the way, Johor has very nice landed homes that you can consider. They are mainly gated. If you really hand-itchy and have too much money and don't know where to spend, I would rather you buy such home for retirement. Please do your own research well and seek Malaysia property agent for their professional advice. Interestingly, when I'm doing this video, I see some similarity between the two countries. Malaysia has RPGT, we have SSD. Malaysia has higher stamp duty for higher price property. We have ABSD at 60% for foreigners. Malaysia also have properties that target foreigners. Singapore also has property that are specific at foreigners. It seems like we are brothers in arms, separated by only the Strait of Johor. Going forward, I hope both countries continue to what with the RTS. By the way, there is always this discussion, who have the best food? I think Malaysia has managed to preserve many of their food culture. That is why you see Singaporeans travel all the way to KL or even Penang for their great food. In my personal opinion, Malaysia food tastes so much better. That's all. I've come to the end of my video. Hope you enjoy it.